The Trials of Hercules, a journey of redemption. The story of Hercules' servitude to King Eurystheus begins long before he set foot in the city of Mycenae, with the rivalry between the gods Hera and Zeus, and the tragic events that would later lead him to seek redemption. Hercules, known as Heracles in Greek, was born to the mortal woman Alcmene and Zeus, king of the gods. Zeus, who had fallen in love with Alcmene for her beauty and virtue, descended to earth disguised as her husband, Amphitryon. When Alcmene bore twin sons, one was the son of Amphitryon, while the other, Hercules, was the son of Zeus. His dual heritage made Hercules both mortal and divine, granting him immense strength and courage. However, Zeus's wife, Hera, was outraged by her husband's infidelity. Her jealousy and hatred for Hercules burned fiercely, and she swore to make his life as difficult and painful as possible. From his infancy, Hera sought to destroy him, sending 2 serpents to kill the infant Hercules in his crib. But even as a baby, Hercules showed remarkable strength, strangling the snakes with his bare hands and leaving his mother and stepfather in awe. Despite Hera's initial failure, her resentment only grew as Hercules became known for his strength and courage. Hera knew she couldn't kill Hercules directly, but she could manipulate the circumstances of his life, and she began to plot ways to bring about his suffering and downfall. As Hercules grew older, he became a hero renowned across Greece for his many feats. He married Megara, the daughter of King Creon of Thebes, and together they had several children. For a time, Hercules knew peace and happiness, living a life devoted to his family and to the protection of his people. But Hera's hatred for Hercules had not waned, and she found a way to strike at him when he least expected it. In a cruel act of revenge, Hera inflicted Hercules with a sudden, uncontrollable madness. In his delusional state, Hercules became convinced that his own family were enemies. Blind with rage, he turned on his beloved wife and children, killing them in a fit of fury. When the madness finally lifted, Hercules was horrified to find himself surrounded by the lifeless bodies of his family. The grief and guilt that followed were overwhelming, and he struggled to understand how he, a hero and protector, could have committed such an unforgivable act. Filled with despair, he wandered the countryside, seeking a way to atone for his actions. Desperate to rid himself of his guilt, Hercules traveled to the Oracle of Delphi, where he hoped to receive guidance. The Oracle, a priestess of Apollo, had the power to commune with the gods and provide wisdom to those in need. When Hercules arrived, she told him that he could atone for his sins, but only if he devoted himself to a life of servitude. The Oracle revealed that he must serve King Eurystheus, the ruler of Mycenae, for 12 years and complete a series of tasks or labors assigned by him. If he succeeded, he would be cleansed of his guilt and granted immortality, allowing him to join the gods on Mount Olympus. Hercules accepted the oracle's decree without hesitation, despite the knowledge that serving Eurystheus would be no simple feat. Eurystheus was not only his cousin, but he was also a weak and cowardly man, chosen by Hera to rule Mycenae in part due to her vendetta against Hercules. Knowing that Eurystheus would make his tasks as difficult and humiliating as possible, Hercules steeled himself for the challenges ahead. Hera, sensing an opportunity to make Hercules' life even harder, intervened in his servitude to Eurystheus. She visited Eurystheus and filled him with envy and fear of his powerful cousin, warning him that Hercules' strength was a threat to his rule. Eurystheus, who was easily influenced, listened to Hera's words and resolved to make Hercules' penance as harsh as possible. He devised 12 labors that he believed would be impossible to complete, certain that Hercules would either fail and lose his chance at redemption or die in the attempt. The labors assigned to Hercules would become legendary, each one more difficult and dangerous than the last. He was commanded to face monstrous creatures, travel to far-off lands, and perform tasks that seemed beyond the abilities of any mortal. But Hercules accepted each challenge with determination, hoping that by succeeding, he could redeem himself in the eyes of the gods and one day find peace. Eurystheus' first task for Hercules was to slay the Nemean lion, a fearsome beast that had been terrorizing the region. This lion was no ordinary creature. Its hide was so thick that no weapon could pierce it. Eurystheus was certain that Hercules would meet his end, attempting to kill the invulnerable beast. Confident in his plan, he awaited news of Hercules' demise, but Hercules was determined to prove his strength and redeem himself. As he set out for Nemea, Hercules knew he would face an impossible task, but he was prepared to do whatever it took to complete his first labor. In the quiet fields near Nemea, a shadow loomed over the peaceful valley. It was not a man, nor a simple beast, but something more monstrous, the Nemean lion. Villagers whispered of this lion, speaking of its massive size and thick golden fur, impenetrable as iron, which no arrow or sword could pierce. This lion had terrorized the people for months, leaving the valley deserted and eerily silent, with travelers and hunters alike avoiding the hills for fear of falling victim to the beast. When Hercules heard of this lion, he knew it was his destiny to confront it. His first labor, commanded by the jealous King Eurystheus, was to slay this invincible beast, an impossible feat meant to end the life of the son of Zeus before his journey even began. Determined to fulfill his task and win redemption for his past sins, Hercules set off alone into the wilderness of Nemea. Though the weight of his deeds weighed heavily on him, he held hope that his actions could one day wash away the shame and sorrow that had stained his life. With the sun high overhead and his club in hand, Hercules moved swiftly through the dense woods, his sharp eyes scanning every shadow and thicket for signs of the monstrous lion. The journey to the lion's lair was a challenge in itself. The path wound through thorny underbrush, rocky hills, and shadowy forests where the silence was so thick it made every step sound loud and startling. Hercules moved with caution, knowing that the lion could be anywhere, watching from behind the trees or hidden in the high grass. Occasionally, he would see signs of the creature, a half-eaten carcass here, deep claw marks on tree trunks there. Each one told of the lion's strength and viciousness, a creature that seemed like it had been made to kill and instill fear in the hearts of men. After hours of walking and watching, Hercules finally spotted a large cave halfway up a hill. The grass near the entrance was flattened, and bones littered the ground, some picked clean, others still bloody, a clear sign that this was the lion's den. Hercules gripped his club tightly, his senses heightened as he slowly approached. A faint smell hung in the air, a mix of blood, decay, and the unmistakable scent of a predator. Steeling himself, Hercules ventured closer, his every nerve on edge. He was still some distance away when he heard a low, rumbling growl echo from deep within the cave. His heart beat faster, but he held his ground, his mind focused and his body prepared. The growl grew louder, turning into a roar that shook the stones beneath his feet. And then, out of the shadows, the lion emerged. The beast was even more terrifying than Hercules had imagined. Its massive body was covered in golden fur that seemed to shimmer even in the dim light, and its eyes gleamed with a ferocity and intelligence that made it more than just an animal. Its muscles rippled beneath its hide, and its claws dug into the earth with each step as it stared at Hercules, sizing up the man who had dared to enter its domain. Hercules raised his club, ready for battle. He knew his bow and arrows would be useless against the lion's invulnerable hide, so he had chosen his weapon carefully. The club, thick and heavy, was made from a sturdy tree he had cut down and shaped himself. It would take all his strength to wield it effectively, but Hercules was ready. He met the lion's gaze, his eyes as fierce and unyielding as the beast's. The lion let out another roar, so powerful that it shook the air around them, and then it charged, closing the distance between them with shocking speed. Hercules swung his club, aiming for the creature's head, but the lion was fast. It ducked to the side and leapt, its massive paws reaching for him, claws extended. Hercules dodged, but the lion's claws grazed his arm, leaving a trail of blood. Ignoring the pain, he spun around and swung his club again, this time connecting with the lion's side. The force of the blow was enough to stagger the beast, but it quickly recovered, shaking off the strike as if it were nothing more than a nuisance. Hercules felt a surge of frustration. This creature was unlike any foe he had faced before. No matter how strong his blows, they barely seemed to affect it. Realizing he needed a new strategy, Hercules began to back away, circling around the entrance of the cave. The lion followed, its eyes never leaving him, watching and waiting for an opening. Hercules knew he couldn't defeat the lion in a simple fight of strength. He needed to get closer, to use his own hands, his own strength against the beast. He would need to wrestle it into submission. As he moved, he spotted a narrow opening on the other side of the cave entrance. Quickly formulating a plan, Hercules backed toward the cave, luring the lion closer. The lion, sensing his hesitation, pounced, and Hercules turned and ran into the cave. The lion followed, its heavy paws pounding against the stone floor as it chased him deeper and deeper into the darkness. When they reached a narrow part of the cave, Hercules stopped. He turned to face the lion, which was now trapped in the confined space with him. Here, the lion's size would work against it, giving Hercules the advantage he needed. As the beast lunged at him, Hercules dodged and grabbed hold of its thick, muscular neck, wrapping his powerful arms around it in a tight grip. The lion thrashed and roared, its massive paws clawing at him, but Hercules held on, using all his strength to keep the beast pinned. The struggle was intense. The lion twisted and snapped, its powerful jaws coming dangerously close to Hercules' face, its claws tearing at his arms and chest. But Hercules held firm, his muscles straining as he tightened his grip, ignoring the pain and focusing all his energy on subduing the beast. Slowly, the lion's struggles began to weaken. Its roars turned to gasps as it fought for air, its strength fading under Hercules' relentless hold. Finally, with one last effort, Hercules squeezed with all his might, crushing the lion's windpipe. The beast let out a final, shuddering breath, and then it was still. Hercules released his hold, breathing heavily as he stared down at the lifeless body of the creature that had terrorized so many. He had done it. He had defeated the Nemean lion, not with weapons, but with his own hands and strength. But his task was not yet complete. Hercules knew he needed proof of his victory, and the lion's pelt was the perfect trophy. However, even in death, the creature's hide was as impenetrable as ever, resisting all his attempts to cut through it. Frustrated but undeterred, Hercules remembered the lion's own sharp claws. He used them to slice through the hide, finally managing to separate it from the body. As he stepped out of the cave, draped in the lion's pelt, the villagers who had watched from afar gasped in awe and disbelief. They had seen him go in empty-handed, and now he emerged victorious, covered in the indestructible skin of the very creature that had plagued their land. Hercules stood tall, his head held high, his face marked with exhaustion, but filled with pride. When he returned to King Eurystheus, the king's face went pale at the sight of the lion's hide. Eurystheus had never expected Hercules to succeed, let alone to bring back such a fearsome trophy. Fearful of Hercules' growing power and fame, the king ordered that Hercules was never again to enter the city of Mycenae without permission, and he would now have to present the proof of his labors outside the city gates. Despite Eurystheus' attempts to undermine him, Hercules felt a deep sense of pride and satisfaction. He had faced the Nemean lion, a beast thought to be invincible, and had emerged victorious through sheer will and courage. As he draped the lion's pelt over his shoulders, he knew that this was just the beginning of his journey. There would be more trials, more impossible challenges, but with each one, he grew stronger, more determined to redeem himself and prove his worth. In the end, the lion's pelt became more than just a trophy. It was a symbol of his resilience and his refusal to be broken, a reminder that even the greatest obstacles could be overcome with strength, cunning, and an unyielding spirit.